The story of Crazy Joe was torn from yesterday's headlines, and it's as terrifying as tomorrow's.
Good morning. Welcome back to Crazy Joe's Concession Stand. I'm Crazy Joe. Today, I'm going to talk about my top 10 favorite films of 2024. 2024 is one of the best years we've had for movies in a long time. There have been more great movies this year than it felt for a while there like every other week there was a movie that like we were saying, is this the best movie of the year, or is this a contender for best movie of the year? It seems like we said that every month. Like they just kept coming and coming and coming. And there's a few that don't make my list that get honorable mentions, like The First Omen, which was really well directed. I don't have the director of The First Omen's name in front of me. If Little Movie Perp was here, he'd know it. But she shows so much talent. I could see her being a huge director in the coming years because she just knocked it out of the park with a film that could have fallen flat, a prequel to The Omen. I don't know that there was a whole lot of demand for that. Certainly didn't do great at the box office. But, man, did she make a great movie. She's going places. But, that could have easily made my top 10. It didn't, but it could have. We had I wouldn't put it in my top 10 by any means, maybe my top 20. But Joker 2 was a really interesting follow-up to the Joker. Went some really interesting places. That was really good. There were a lot of good ones. But let's start with my number 10. And hang on a second. I don't usually do these live, but I'm going to do it live. My number 10 is Late Night with the Devil. Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dashmalian, if I pronounced his name correct, best known as Polka Dot Man from the Suicide Squad, and he was Abracadabra on TV's The Flash. You've seen him all over the place. Great actor. And this film came out. It was a Shudder original. This movie was made by the streaming service Shudder. And it's a film about a late night talk show on Halloween night in the 70s. This guy was a competitor of Johnny Carson. And let's just say everything goes wrong. It's done in the style of a found footage movie. Like, hey, here is the actual film of this late night talk show from the 70s. Here it is. It hasn't been seen since it aired. And we're just going to show you the whole tape. And it's really effective. It's really great. There are other films that have done this same kind of style, such as the WNUF Halloween special. And then there's one from the BBC several years ago called Ghost Watch. Ghost Watch is really well liked. I've tried to watch it like 2 or 3 times, and Ghost Watch does nothing for me. I've tried. I've really, really tried. In fact, it was a blind buy. I bought it on Blu-ray without having seen it, just based on how everyone said it was great. Of this type of film, and like I said, Ghost Watch and WNUF have done it first. I do think that Late Night with the Devil is the best version of that kind of story we've ever had. So, also great theatrical film. I saw this in a packed crowd, and the whole audience was into it. Like, this was a movie. It was like a late night screening, probably around 11 p.m., full theater, and everybody was just hanging on this movie. It's the kind of shared theater experience you used to get that you don't get very much anymore. It really was pretty cool. So there you go. That's my number 10, Late Night with the Devil. All right. Now, you're going to have to excuse me. It takes a while toggling between the images. My number 9 is Saturday Night, Jason Reitman's story of the first night of Saturday Night Live. It's done in real time. It's the 90 minutes leading up to the first broadcast. All the roles are really well cast, most of them fairly unknown actors. The only actor I think I really knew going into this was Ella Hunt from one of my favorite Christmas movies, Anna and the Apocalypse. She plays Gilda Radner, barely even recognizable as Gilda. The whole cast is really, really good, right up until the moment they went on the air. And like I said, this takes place in real time, 90 minutes. Right up until the moment they went on the air, the cast of SNL didn't know if they were going to go on the air. They really thought that there was a possibility that the plug could be pulled and that NBC might decide instead to go with a rerun of The Tonight Show. They had a rerun of The Tonight Show ready at the press of a button. Really good story. Chevy Chase didn't like it. Chevy Chase called it an embarrassment, but what does Chevy know, right? Dan Aykroyd did like it. All right, coming in at number 8, another film that didn't do so well at the box office, but did very well in streaming, as well it should, because it was good. Argyle. My number 8 is Argyle. This is a film by Matthew Vaughn, director of X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass, and the Kingsman franchise. I've liked pretty much everything Matthew Vaughn has done except the last Kingsman movie, which is called The King's Man. I didn't care for that one. But otherwise, Matthew Vaughn has done some excellent work, and Argyle might be my favorite movie of his. It's about a writer who writes a bunch of novels about a super spy named Argyle. We see this spy in dramatic reenactments, but he's a fictional character. When we see those reenactments, he's played by Henry Cavill, and she starts finding out that a lot of her stories have basis in reality, and some real spies, including Sam Rockwell, favorite actor of mine, they try to figure out why she's so accurate in her stories. And there's a lot of twists, a lot of turns. I think this is Matthew Vaughn's best picture. A lot of people didn't like this film because it goes to some silly places. That's the point. Like, I heard people say that wouldn't work. That there's a one scene in particular where I know a lot of pundits were like, that wouldn't have worked. That wouldn't have worked. We know it wouldn't have worked. You're supposed to have fun with it. It's a good time. It's not super it's not super realistic. It's not supposed to be. But yeah, that's my number 8, Argyle, streaming now on Apple TV Plus. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It is well worth your time. All right. It takes me a while getting these graphics up. I used to do them in post, as they say. What is my number 7? Oh, yes, my number 7 is The Substance. Demi Moore, an aging actress. She takes this bizarre substance that is supposed to make her into her better self. She becomes literally a different person, Margaret Qualley. I don't want to tell you any more than that. If you haven't seen The Substance, this is a wild movie that goes some really crazy places. And it's a blast. This movie is one of those movies that just keeps you thinking. Like, you're going to think about this movie for days after you've seen it. And I will tell you, this is considered a horror film. The most horrifying thing you're going to see in this film is Dennis Quaid eating shrimp. If Dennis Quaid starts eating shrimp, close your eyes. You don't want to see that. It's just gross. But yeah, no, The Substance. Demi Moore deserves all the praise she got for this, as does Margaret Qualley. Margaret Qualley's great too, but this is definitely an interesting film. One of the best of the year. A lot of people really were taken by surprise with the Substance. I don't think that was one of those movies. You do your most anticipated. I don't think anybody would have had The Substance. That's one of those films that just kind of comes out and takes you by surprise. All right, what are we up to? Number 6 is My Old Ass. My Old Ass, starring Aubrey Plaza. This is a film about aging, who you are versus who you become as you get older. A young girl does some drugs and has a vision of herself from the future. And Aubrey Plaza plays her future self. And they form a relationship, and she starts learning who she becomes as she gets older. And Aubrey Plaza starts giving her younger self advice. Hey, here's some people you want to avoid. If you run into this guy, stay clear of him. And it leads to all kinds of complications. This is a film I thought was going to be just a funny comedy, but it actually turns out to be really, really emotional. This is an emotional film. And I think this film pairs up nicely with another film on my list. I'll get to that when we get there, but it's another film about aging and rediscovering who we were when we were younger. And I think the two of them really they approach the same topics in very different ways. Best animated film of the year. I know all the money went to Inside Out 2, but The Wild Robot. This is another really, really emotional story. And it's about a robot who ends up in the woods, ends up protecting some animals. And this movie caught me off guard. I mean, the trailer looked good, but I wasn't expecting to like this as much as I did. Hang on one second. Yeah, this movie is really, really emotional. If you walk out of this and you don't have tears in your eyes, check your pulse. You may be dead. This one is so good. It's good. People went crazy for Inside Out 2. It was good. This is much better. This is the best animated film of the year. And I'll tell you, Inside Out 2 isn't even the second best. Inside Out 2 might be fourth because Transformers 1 and Flow were also much better films than Inside Out 2. But there you go. Best animated film of the year, The Wild Robot. Number 5 on my list. All right, at number 4. Now, this one is a divisive film. This film is not for everybody. This film is definitely not for everybody, but it really, really spoke to me. Number 4, I have I Saw the TV Glow. This is a really, really bizarre film. It's from A24. It's classified as a horror film, though I don't really think it's horror in the traditional sense. If you're looking for like a scary movie, this is not what you want. This is more of a weird fever dream of a film about two teenagers in the 90s that are obsessed with a supernatural drama show called The Pink Opaque. And they lose touch with each other, find each other again years later. And there's a question as to whether or not The Pink Opaque was just a TV show they watched, or did it really happen? Were these memories that they were remembering as a TV show? It gets very, 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 very complicated. And it's one of those films that has one of those endings that you're either going to just love it or hate it. But it's a film that will keep you thinking. Whether you like the movie, don't like the movie, you will think about this film. I found out what the director was trying to say. I went and read some analysis of the film, and I know what the movie means. And once I read what the movie means, I got it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I could see that. But that's not what it meant to me. Film's very, very subjective, and you take from it what you're going to take from it. And I took something different from this film. So it was a powerful film for me. And even though I know what the director meant for it to be, that's being as that isn't my life experience. That's not how I related to the film. But either way, this is just a great film. But again, it's not for everybody. This is a love it or hate it kind of film. This could easily be on your best 10 of the year or your worst 10 of the year because it's just that divisive, and it's really going to hit everyone different. Great performance, by the way, by Bridget Lundy Payne, who played Ted's daughter in Bill and Ted Face the Music. I thought that they were great in that film, and they're equally great in this film. So there you go. My number 4, I Saw the TV Glow. I can't recommend it enough, but be warned ahead of time. You might hate it. A lot of people do. All right, my number 3. For a while there, I thought that I Saw the TV Glow was going to be my favorite film of the year. It was a film that really stuck with me through most of the year. So it wasn't until later in the year that some films came up that I was like, oh, that's even better. Like my number 3, Heretic, starring what's his name? Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant is a man who a couple of girls come to talk about the Mormon Church. The Mormons will go on these little what do they call them? They call them missions, I guess, where they go door to door, try to spread the word of the Mormon Church. And they go to his house, and he invites them in and says his wife's in the kitchen, and he wants to hear about the Mormon Church. But he has ulterior motives, and we find out pretty early on, there's probably no wife. His wife being there is called into doubt pretty quick, and we start to find out that these girls are in a pretty dangerous situation. We don't know who this guy is, what his end game is, but he's really there to challenge their religion. He's not there to hear about the Mormon Church at all. This is a nail biter of a film. And it came out very much at the end of the year and surprised me by jumping right up to the top of my list. There's only 2 other films that I thought were better than Heretic, and I saw the TV Glow. And of those 2 other films, only one of them came out like earlier in the year in the summertime. So you can probably figure out my number 1 is. Having said that, because it's something that came out late in the year, you could probably guess. My number 2 came out in the summer, though. My number 2 is a film that didn't do so great at the box office. Should have, because I think it did okay. I think it did all right at the box office, but it didn't do as well as it should have. It's a phenomenal film, and it's the film I think pairs well with my old ass, and that is If, the latest film by John Krasinski. I'm sorry, Deadpool and Wolverine fans, but Deadpool and Wolverine is the second best Ryan Reynolds film of the year, because If is a much better film. This is a film about imaginary friends. What happens to imaginary friends when the kids outgrow them? Where do they go? Ryan Reynolds is a man who could see imaginary friends. He meets a young girl who could also see them, and they're trying to place these imaginary friends with new children. This film is incredibly emotional. Again, this is another one that really had me tearing up. It was an emotional year for films. And this is John Krasinski made this. Obviously, he did the Quiet Place movies. This is better than any of the Quiet Place movies. This is a film that I think is destined to be a classic in the league of Willy Wonka or The Wizard of Oz. I think generations are going to love this film. It's just going to take a little time. Keep in mind, Willy Wonka was a box office failure. That found its audience years later on television, and I think over time this film is going to develop quite the following. It really has got something to say, like my old ass, about who we are when we're young versus who we are when we're older, because both films hit that same subject. This one with the imaginary friends. These kids have the imaginary friends. They outgrow them. I don't want to say much more because I'll give away things. I don't want to give away things. This is a very special movie. This is a very magical movie, a very emotional film. I don't want to spoil anything for you. If you haven't seen If, check it out. It's streaming on Paramount Plus. This is a great movie. This is a really special film. All right. And my number 1 film of the year, man, early in the year, if you told me this was going to be my number 1, I wouldn't have believed you. I mean, I was interested in seeing it. I was always interested in seeing it, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. I know this one's pretty predictable because it's one of the most popular films of the year, but it's Wicked. Wicked is tremendous. The music is great. The performances are great. Look, everybody likes The Wizard of Oz. I don't dislike The Wizard of Oz, but I've never been a huge Wizard of Oz guy. Wizard of Oz is not my, I liked it as a kid, but I kind of felt like I feel Ozzed out. I kind of feel Ozzed out. Like they used to air The Wizard of Oz on TV every single year. Then VHS. I worked in a video store. That was one of those movies you could always throw on. You could throw on The Wizard of Oz because it's inoffensive. Everybody loves it. Eventually, you get to a point where you're just kind of sick of The Wizard of Oz, So it's not that I don't love The Wizard of Oz. It's just kind of maybe I have Oz burnout after years and years of watching that movie over and over and over again. But this is really a good movie. This is really a good movie. Everything about it is great. The performances, the music, it's just... And I don't know the story of Wicked. I never read the book. I never saw the Broadway musical. So this film is part 1 of 2. It ends on a cliffhanger, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I want to see where this story takes us because I don't know. So there you go. Let's go over my list real quick. At number 10, I had Late Night with the Devil. At number 9, I had Saturday Night. Argyle at number 8, streaming on Apple Plus. If you have Apple Plus, check out Argyle. The Substance at number 7, My Old Ass at number 6, The Wild Robot at number 5, I Saw the TV Glow at number 4, Heretic at number 3, If at number 2, and If and My Old Ass really complement each other well because they're both films about aging and who we become versus who we were, and watch them back to back. You can watch If on Paramount Plus. You can watch My Old Ass on Amazon Prime. So they're both streaming. If you have both streaming services, maybe you want to set 4 hours aside and check them out back to back. You'll be very fulfilled if you do, I think. And number 1 is Wicked. All right. I want to thank everyone for watching my top 10 of 2024. 2024 was such a tremendous year for the movies. We had so many great movies this year, so many great original films, not part of a franchise, like If, like I Saw the TV Glow, Heretic, Substance. You know, I feel like I saw more original non-IP films this year than I have in a long time, and that's kind of nice. You know, I don't have anything against IP films or sequels or superheroes, or I don't have anything against those kind of films. I will go see those films. I look forward to those. My most anticipated film of 2025 is Superman. So I like that kind of thing, but it's, you know, you always hear people complain, there's nothing original. There's nothing original. Of course, then you give them something original, they don't go see it. They don't go see it. Those movies don't do as well. Nobody saw My Old Ass. Nobody saw I Saw the TV Glow. If did okay, it struggled. So, you know, if you want original films, go see them. But yeah, no, it's been a tremendous year for movies. And I want to thank everybody for watching, and bring on the 2025 films. I'm ready for 2025. Keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas
with the plastic feet.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Tell everyone you meet.
Keep wearing those pajamas
With the back door flap.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Don't open it, it's a trap.
Oh no,
It's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander pajamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas.
keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas.
I know we're having fun.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
And now the song is done.